The issue of refugees and immigration to the United States is a constant issue in our headlines, and we should examine what is the Jewish perspective on that issue. All the way back in the Torah, we know we had to flee our homeland because of famine, and the biblical figure of Joseph negotiated refuge for Jews in Egypt, so that they could escape poverty and famine and save their lives. But then we know what happens in Egypt: enslavement and conflict, and the Jews became slaves, and we have the story of Passover and our freedom. We could have drawn lessons of hard-heartedness from this story, but that's not what our Torah teaches. Our Torah teaches that we know what it felt like, and so therefore we should not do that to others. The Torah repeats over and over again that you should treat the stranger fairly. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. You should love the stranger as yourself. Dr. Elliot Friedman, in his examination of the Hebrew word reyecha, which is your neighbor, proves that it is used not just for a kinsman, but for anyone. And so this is a basic Jewish ethic of empathy and compassion, and we know better. No discussion of immigration to the United States from a Jewish perspective can skip over two things. The first is the inscription by Emma Lazarus, a young Jewish woman. Her poem was put next to the Statue of Liberty and has become the meaning of the Statue of Liberty for all of America. That's an amazing thing, that this Jewish voice has become an expression of what America's ideals should be. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. So we have articulated the definition for many Americans of what it means to be an immigrant to America and what America should be about. But we also need to think of the voyage of the St. Louis. In 1939, after Kristallnacht had happened and after everybody knew what the fate of European Jewry was going to be, a boat of over 900 Jewish refugees on the St. Louis came, and they were turned away from Cuba, and they were turned away from the United States and sent back, and the people at the time could assume that they were being sent back to their deaths. I do not want to be part of a generation that sends back another St. Louis. Just speaking personally for me, I believe that the words, "you shall love the stranger as yourself," mean something. And so I find that Jewish perspective should be to welcome the stranger, hachnasat orchim, to stand with refugees, to stand with immigrants. Now, are Jewish law about borders and security? Absolutely, 100%. There are all kinds of Jewish law, halacha, about protecting your borders and about being safe. But we can do both. This is not an either-or situation. There is a very long process to be able to come into this country, and there's enforcement of borders. But we can still welcome refugees into this country, and we should look at who really is a dangerous person before deporting them. The headlines have been that we should only be deporting, targeting first and foremost people of criminal background, but there's a lot of evidence to show that that is not what is actually happening, and we should question whether what is happening is actually about safety or is really about xenophobia and racism. The idea that only illegal immigrants are being deported contradicts what's happening with the lifting of protection over Haitians who came over here to escape the earthquake. If they are now, their future is now going to be uncertain. There's questions about dreamers and children who came here, and there is widespread support for finding a way to make these people part of our homes and part of our lives. And so let us take seriously the commandment to love the stranger as ourselves, and to find a way that we can be a secure nation, but we can also be the nation of immigrants that welcomes people and provides them sanctuary. That's our Jewish history and our ideal.